If James Doakes crawls out of that Everglades cabin alive, one phone call flips 3 endgames at once. The Bay Harbor butcher case, Maria LaGuerta's crusade, and Debra Morgan's fate. I will show you the exact receipts that point to this domino run, starting with the gas-fed match in Season 2, Episode 11, At the Cabin. This is commentary and critique for education and entertainment. Major spoilers ahead. Quick favor to sharpen the autopsy, drop 1 episode in the comments plus a 1-line theory on the first plot beat that would break if Doakes survives. I will test your pick against the canon and pay it off with a stronger receipt before the verdict. Here are our anchors, on screen, no guesswork. Season 1, Episode 12, Dexter finds Debra strapped to Brian's table in the shipping yard and saves her. Season 2, Episode 3, Doakes shadows Dexter into a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and here's the cover story. Season 2, Episode 5, Dexter headbutts Doakes in the precinct, Doakes attacks and gets suspended. Season 2, Episode 9, Doakes breaks into Dexter's apartment and finds the blood slide box hidden in the air vent. Season 2, Episode 11, Doakes is caged in the Everglades cabin, begs Dexter to turn himself in, and a gas explosion kills him. Season 2, Episode 12, Dexter tracks Lila to Paris and kills her. Season 7, Episode 1, LaGuerta finds a single blood slide at the burned church. Season 7, Episode 12, Debra shoots LaGuerta at the shipping yard. Those are the receipts. We will bend, not break. First, the stakes in present tense. Miami Metro believes the Bay Harbor butcher is their faceless boogeyman. Doakes is the only cop whose instincts cut past Dexter's lab coat camouflage. His method is blunt, but his read is clean. Something's wrong with you. That read is already backed by actions, not hunches. He tails Dexter to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting in Season 2, Episode 3, and watches Dexter manufacture a recovery narrative. He rifles the apartment and pulls the blood slide trophy box from the air vent in Season 2, Episode 9. He listens to Dexter confess the broad truth without the details in Season 2, Episode 11, At the Cabin. Those are not vibes. Those are receipts with edges. Curiosity loop. If one man in the story holds motive, means, and a record of evidence against Dexter, what happens to the series' spine if he is not reduced to ash in that cabin? Hold that. We need to map 2 knock-on lines at once: institutional behavior and character psychology. Pattern interrupt. The easiest counter is, even alive, Doakes gets steamrolled. The institution already framed him. Test it against what the camera shows. In Season 2, Episode 5, after the bullpen fight, LaGuerta still defends Doakes professionally and personally. In Season 2, Episodes 8 through 10, she keeps digging when others are content with the FBI's neat answer. That loyalty matters if he survives the cabin. Alive, wounded, handcuffed, he calls LaGuerta from the scene. She now has 4 levers: his word, his prior attempt to turn in the slides through an outside contact, the history of internal affairs complaints that make him a political problem but also a truth teller, and the physical remains at the cabin that point to Santos Jimenez, not a random butcher kill. If that is true, then the neat narrative that Doakes is the butcher stops being neat. Watch how the evidence behaves in Season 2. The blood slides seized from Doakes' trunk become the case's keystone. But we know those slides were first in Dexter's air vent, Season 2, Episode 9, and then replaced by Dexter once the investigation tightened. Doakes alive means chain of custody gets litigated in story. LaGuerta can testify to his consistent suspicion of Dexter well before the slides appear in his car, and the show has already shown her doing precisely that kind of internal counterwork. Alive Doakes does not exonerate himself in a day, but he keeps the possibility alive that the slides are planted, and that possibility infects the precinct's belief in the Bay Harbor storyline. Now the character engine. Doakes surviving forces Dexter to choose between the code and the clean scapegoat he enjoys in canon. Season 2, Episode 11 shows the line, Dexter cannot kill an innocent, and he will not. That is the Henry Code in action. The reason Lila's act is so useful to Dexter is that it removes the code problem. Take that removal away, and Dexter faces one of 2 tracks. He either becomes a fugitive to protect the code, or he breaks the code early. Either path detonates later seasons. Curiosity loop. Which later tragedy shifts first if the code bends here earlier? The answer is Rita. The Trinity arc in Season 4 only locks in because Dexter still believes he can be two men. Family man by day, ritualist by night, code intact. A 2025 analysis of audience retention would call that the series' myth of control. Doakes alive in Season 2 shatters that myth early. If Dexter flees, Rita does not die in Season 4 because Dexter never steps into Trinity's loop. If he stays and breaks the code to remove Doakes, then the series seeds his ethical collapse 2 seasons ahead of schedule, and everything that happens to Debra in Season 7 becomes less tragic fall and more long-delayed Bill. Pattern interrupt number 2. If that is true, then Debra's arc does not converge at the shipping yard in Season 7, Episode 12. Why? Because Doakes surviving accelerates LaGuerta's suspicion timeline by 5 years. In canon, LaGuerta finds a fresh blood slide at the church in Season 7, Episode 1, then slowly reopens the butcher question. But if she has Doakes' testimony in Season 2, she does not need a church slide to go after Dexter. She starts sooner, with more fire, and she has a living witness whose instincts the show has already taught us to respect, even when his methods grate. Let us put you in a quiet micro-vignette to make this less abstract. Picture LaGuerta in her office, near midnight in Season 2. The blinds half closed, the blood slide photo from the trunk on one side of her desk, and Doakes' IA file on the other. Her face, when she lifted the slide at the church in Season 7, Episode 1 was recognition, not discovery. If the same gloved hand holds a phone to a breathing Doakes who just crawled out of a fire and says, "It is Morgan," that recognition lands 5 seasons sooner. The chase does not get cleaner, it gets messier, but it starts counter theory time. Doakes alive equals Dexter imprisoned by Season 3, story over. Not so fast. The receipts argue for a slow burn institutional war, not a swift slam. Dexter's advantage has never been only secrecy. It is procedural leverage. He controls evidence flows, he frames narratives, he is the one who calms the room when bodies make people reckless. Even with Doakes alive, Dexter can use the same moves he uses on Agent Lundy and later on LaGuerta to buy time. He would push the Bay Harbor data toward dead ends, leak confounding leads, and play the reformed addict perfectly in front of the FBI. That buys him months, not days. But months are enough to warp arcs. Receipt run, then implications. Season 2, Episode 3 shows Dexter confessing cravings to a circle that can verify attendance. That gives him an alibi framework he could weaponize against Doakes' claims, a cop attacking a recovering colleague. Season 2, Episode 5 shows the precinct already primed to see Doakes as volatile. That is an evidentiary headwind he has to fight in any survival timeline. Season 2, Episode 9 proves Doakes touched the slides. Prosecutors would love that. But the audience has already seen how the slides got into his orbit, so our perspective does not change. We know the truth, the institution does not. Season 2, Episode 11 locks the moral tension. Doakes begs Dexter to surrender, and Dexter does not kill him. That is the last moment where the code is unquestioned. After that, survival forces a new rule set. Here is the big twist that arrives only if he lives. Debra's confession in Season 6, Episodes 10 and 11, and the church reveal in Season 6, Episode 12, are no longer the spring that drives Season 7's kill or cop endgame because Doakes and LaGuerta shift the gravitational field. Either Deb learns earlier through the investigation pressure and drags Dexter toward a plea, or she learns later because Dexter flees. In both cases, the outcome we actually see Deb killing LaGuerta in Season 7. Episode 12 is the scene that disappears from the timeline. The strongest future receipt erased by Doakes' survival is the one that destroys Deb's soul. Ethics line. We are not rooting for explosions or scapegoats. We are reading how craft and logic distribute consequences when one character's death is removed. This is about psychology, inside institutions, how one stubborn man's presence turns private pathology into public conflict. Now, let us answer the comment from the opening loop. If Doakes survives, what breaks first? The answer is not the Bay Harbor case, it is Dexter's double life illusion. Season 1, episode 12 already shows us that Debra is Dexter's human anchor. Season 2 proves that Doakes is his narrative counterweight. Alive Doakes forces Dexter to choose a path that is incompatible with the Trinity life. Either he runs and Rita lives, or he stays and becomes a different kind of monster years earlier, one that Deb recognizes sooner and rejects differently. The receipts you can point to on screen, the NA meeting, the headbutt suspension, the vent slides, the cabin plea assemble into a picture where Doakes is not just an antagonist, he is the story's structural pressure valve. One more curiosity loop, and the payoff is near. What happens to Lila if Doakes lives? Season 2, episode 12 shows Dexter crossing the ocean to kill her. But if she fails to kill Doakes, she becomes the state's best witness that Dexter kept a cop in a cage. Dexter cannot leave her breathing. That puts Dexter in open, non-code violence earlier and creates collateral pressure that forces Deb to see him, not when a cult killer is on a table, but when a colleague is in a courtroom. In that timeline, Deb's compulsion to save him has to face daylight. It is uglier for Dexter and, paradoxically, cleaner for Deb. Here is your payoff and verdict. The final, strongest receipt in canon that proves how much Doakes' death props up everything else is the face of Maria LaGuerta in Season 7, Episode 12, as she realizes Deb will not arrest Dexter. That look exists because the institution lacked a living witness in Season 2. Keep Doakes alive, and LaGuerta gets that face 5 years earlier, but in a courtroom, not on a dock. Deb does not shoot her superior. Deb does not drown in denial. Dexter does not get to hide behind, "The code made me do it" for 4 more seasons. The show does not end the same. It does not even live the same middle. Type "I saw the receipts" if you will rewatch Season 2, Episode 3, Season 2, Episode 9, Season 2, Episode 11, and Season 7, Episode 1 back to back. Here is the punchline that echoes our hook. Doakes surviving does not just change a death, it changes the physics. The Bay Harbor Butcher stops being a ghost story and becomes a fight in daylight, and the scene that defines the series' moral collapse never happens. Subscribe to Scene Autopsy, where we solve television mysteries with receipts.